it going? Ezekiel the Barber back with another video for you guys. Thanks for tuning into my channel. Today's haircut, we have a faux hawk with a little design. So, and we also kind of have a little change up. So, Dad brought this other picture along. And he kind of wants to include that into the haircut, so kind of create a version of that. He also wants to leave the top and the back a little longer since he already has the length there, but pretty much this is the style of the haircut that he wants. So something kind of in that fashion, kind of rounded hawk, along with the design that I just showed you guys. Alright, so that's pretty much my destination at hand. This is what we're starting with, this young man right here. So he's kind of shy. We're gonna try to help him break out of that a little bit, get him a nice cut. So we're gonna start with that afro pick. So kind of get that nice hair picked out. This is definitely a fro right here, what you call a fro. This is a serious fro. Alright, so we're gonna start working on this. So I thought anytime I'm working with long hair and I'm doing haircuts of this type, like a faux hawk or anything like that, I like to kind of set what's called, like a clean palette for myself. Look, I mean, that fro is out there, so we got a lot of work to do. I have my work cut out. I only have about an hour or less, so just want to kind of get straight to it. This is where we're at. So you are in the cut with Ezekiel the Barber and this young man and his family, dad and brother. Alright, so give you a couple of moments just to kind of see everything as I try to get set up, and then we'll get right into this haircut. So I'm going to start with that number 3. Let's get started. So I have a Wall Senior clipper. This is the same clipper that I changed the motor out in my previous video. So we're going to put that to work, see if we can kind of comb through this hair, kind of get through there with that motor. So far, so good. So basically, I'm just sculpting the hair cut out. We want to leave the back and the top a little bit longer. Everything else we're pretty much going to take short. So since I know that everything's going to be shorter than the number 3 anyway, there it is there. Side version, kind of where we're at. But since I know that we're going to take things a lot shorter anyways, I thought it would be good to just, create that clean palette once again by getting that number 3. Oop, there it is. Sometimes that can happen. You just want to pull right out or even take the clipper off the guard. Just make sure that everything's nice and cool. As you hear Dad coaching him on the shop etiquette in the barber chair, kind of how to be. Always gotta love getting the young man and the family in the chairs. Barbershop atmosphere. So just kind of sculpting right now at the haircut. So we took it down to the number 3. Now I want to sculpt the haircut kind of in that hawk fashion that they kind of want. Now once again, Dad did want to leave the haircut longer, and Dad is always encouraging. French going on right now. Yeah, so let's get back to the haircut. So we're gonna take it down quite a bit more. We're still using that 3 guard to create that look, create that hawk. So once again, even though I'm gonna take it a lot lower than this, just kind of creating just that look that we're going for. We started with. Right, so quite a bit of ways already from where we started. And cutting kids, man, I mean, you just gotta work with them. They're always gonna be moving. Good barbers are able to adjust to their client, so pretty much no matter who you're cutting. A lot of times I kind of let the kids do their thing, move free, and I kind of adjust to what they do. So, it's pretty much adjusting to your client, moving on the fly. Sometimes it's pretty difficult, but I really give myself with kids. I mean, you really only have about 20-25 minutes normally. That's like my rule of thumb. So we're gonna start with that number 3 again, and we're gonna try to do the same thing that we did on the other side, which is just basically kind of get rid of some of this thickness so that we can get a chance to form that haircut and form that hawk. Dad does want it pretty close to bald on the bottom of the hawk, so very similar to the picture. See me chiseling away. Whenever that hair gets too long, I want to take that clipper out. Sometimes I'll take the guard off and get a little bit more of that bulk off the hair if it's this long. This is a pretty big transformation for such a young client. This guy's definitely being a champ. I think I took way too long for me and for this guy during this haircut, but you know, trying to dial him in. Normally, once again with kids, my rule of thumb is about 25, 35 minutes, somewhere around in there. Then their attention span kind of changes. Alright, so just chiseling at that hair. A lot of times when the guard's off, if you have a really steady hand, you can get a lot of that bulk out and kind of create that look without using a guard. But anytime you start getting really close to the head, always have a guard, I would suggest. So just making that number 3 guard, just get an even cut just like I did on the other opposite side. Sometimes that helps, just asking them to kind of put their head up a little bit, what have you. Truthfully, I think I should have went with my wall senior that's my go-to, that's actually plugged in, where I would have had consistent sturdy power throughout the whole haircut. I think I could have even gotten things done a lot faster with this haircut. So you know, you live and you learn, but as a barber, sometimes you go into haircuts thinking, oh, I think I have this or this tool that I need, and then sometimes you're like, man, this tool would have been better for the haircut, but now the haircut's done. So it's just one of those situations that you just learn from. So. As you see that hawk kind of coming into formation here a little better. Now, of course, if I didn't want to get things balder, this 3 would just be pretty much just fine. This is kind of where we're at, right? If I wanted to kind of taper it in, clean things up, and go from there, you can pretty much do whatever you want as a barber. This young guy's kind of feeling the change. It's always good to see the smiles and the laughs. It's pretty much what I like doing it for. Yeah, that's exactly what I do it for, man. Is see these young guys in here putting smiles on faces. Priceless, priceless, priceless. So, shout out to this young man and his family for allowing me to demonstrate this haircut. Right. So here, since they wanted to take things shorter, I decided to put a guard on, even though it's even going to be shorter than this. I put a guard on to kind of protect around the ear area, form out the look. I know that eventually I will kind of form this into that number 1. So right now I'm basically cutting downwards, sort of say. Even though as a good barber you should be able to, you know, fade up or down, you know, whatever. So I put a guard on to kind of help me protect. There was still longer hair. I knew I needed to take it lower. So I'm just kind of setting my next guideline. Once again, we're even going to take it a little lower than this in this region, but putting the guard on is pretty much like a safety feature. And then just allowing them and asking them to keep their head up is very critical sometimes. You always want to see where that blade is cutting. If you don't have clarity, you always want to get it before you proceed. So, pulling that ear back, kind of pulling that out of harm's way. So once again, having that guard on is definitely like an extra added safety precaution. Once that blade is exposed, you have to be really careful when cutting around there. So if you're ever balding or using any balding clippers or anything like that around there, you always want to be careful. Alright, cool. Still here, Dad, keeping him encouraged. That always helps the barber. Lets them know that they're doing just fine. Everything's gonna be alright. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and go to the next guideline using that number 2 guard. Right. So I'm just gonna take that number 2 guard and go straight up, get rid of some of the bulk, kind of get things a little tighter going into that top area. There's a little artwork for you guys there, that hawk kind of coming into formation. Cool shot for you. Alright, so back to action. Let's go ahead and grab that number 2 guard as promised. And then we're just gonna, now I have the lever open, not all the way closed, so it's not really a true number 2 at this point. It's pretty much more closer to a 3. But I like doing this just to kind of leave a little bit more hair. It allows me to kind of control how dark the fade is going into the top, basically. Basically getting inside the mind of a barber. You are in the cut with Ezekiel the barber and this little man. So now time to get things a little tighter, as I don't have a guard on, but I have that lever open, so it's not going to get things completely bald, but it's going to get things a lot tighter, almost stubbly bald. You should see me going a little higher. And I use this technique with one hand where I can kind of get the ear out of the way and do my fading all at the same time. So that's one of my techniques that I'll use. Just use that one hand to kind of get the ear out of the way and allow me to still kind of fade. You'll see me periodically do it. Always important for the barber to keep the young clients encouraged, or everybody encouraged for all that matters. So we're going to use that same number 1 to basically repeat the same steps on the opposite side. So here we are here. Not looking to go too high, just want to basically do what I did on the other side. And I'm still going to use that number 2 open, just like I did on the other side. With setting guidelines, you pretty much have complete control as long as you keep everything even. So that's what I do like about cutting hair. It doesn't matter wherever you set your guideline, as long as you do the same thing or use the same slope on the opposite sides. progress for you all as I clean my clippers off, clean the hair off my clippers. Very important. A little bit more. Oh, there it is. Alright, so there's a progress. Let's get back to the action. So we're gonna kind of bald into it and then eventually open that lever up like I did on the other side. But Dad did express that he wants to pretty much bald things in. So it doesn't really matter. You just want to make everything look even on both sides. So that's pretty much what you're doing. Alright, so here we are, close to about 20 minutes into this haircut, and you know, the atmosphere always changes, things slightly change, so you know, getting these kids to kind of cooperate, especially on haircuts like this, so it's, you know, a lot of times pretty hard. So his hair was pretty long, so as you see me using that open clipper again as I did on the other side, so keeping everything even once again. So that is my end result. Basically have everything look even using the same steps that got me there on both sides. No matter the sequence. As you see me using a number 1 guard, but it's open, going about 1/4 of an inch up. And we have that number 2, so just as we did on the other side, to kind of keep everything even. So I have that lever open using that number 2, so number 2 open, which is closer to a number 3, just like I did on the other side, to keep that darkness consistent. Going pretty much in every different angle. Alright, next up is that half guard or half cut, as Wall would call it. So it's basically the 0 guard, 1/16 guard. So I know it says 0, but that doesn't mean necessarily bald. So that's going to give like a stubbly look. So that's what a half does. We're going to start with that lever all the way open so it can blend into that one. And I'm using it in sort of a circular motion to create that circular look that creates the fade. So you'll see how that goes. Decided I wanted to take that number 1 up a little tighter since I use that half blending in. Want to kind of control that blend a little better, so I thought if I take it tighter, then use that half to kind of get right back into it, I could blend up, but I can't take that fade down. So that's what I like about cutting hair. You can always blend up, but rule of thumb, you can't put the hair back, so you can't blend down. Alright, so this is the 1.5 guard. So I want to see if I can get rid of a little bit of that bulk going into that number 2. As you can see, I still have that lever open, which is gonna not cut as much hair as if that lever was closed. Right here, just shaping and kind of creating that look. You hear brother keeping them encouraged, having a conversation with them through the haircut. Always appreciate that, keeps them calm, allows the barber to kind of do what they do best. This guy's been a champ so far. We are so far about 20 minutes in, so just trying to go as fast as I can, especially with these specialty haircuts. Now I know I have to put the design in that area, so I wanted to leave that a little bit darker so that sometimes that line can stick out or that design can stick out. So it's often a technique that we use as barbers. So back with that number 3 guard, just kind of want to take things up a little bit more, chisel the top of that haircut going into the top a little bit more, also along the back area. As you can see, I'm not going completely flush with that 3 guard. I'm just taking a little bit of hair off, but using the guard as a protector to kind of control how much hair I cut. Alright, so we're going to start focusing on that top a little bit. Kind of see if we can get that under control. Yeah, some people like, he's good there. But, Dad wanted to take a little bit more off. This is kind of what we started with before the cut. Oh, quite a ways from there.
Yeah, give me that.
So when you form that new look, you are in the cut.
That's what I need.
Give me that good pose for the camera. I appreciate that, young man. All right, so we have a little bit more work to do. Definitely, kind of want to get control of things. You see me trying to figure out what I'm gonna do, what my next step is. Well, let's continue on. This man's like, come on, bro. Let's get done. So I'm just trying to figure out kind of what they want to do. We're going with a square look, a round look, how much more they want off.
It's pretty good.
They say things are going pretty good so far. A little bit off the top, but they'll let me continue on doing my thing. So, I'll continue on. A little animation for you guys. Alright, back to the real life action. On the top, as you see, the hair is long. There's pretty much no guard that you could really use this big to kind of form that length right there. So that's why I am using a freehand technique. So I like to pick the hair out so that everything is even, so that when I cut it and shape it, everything's cut even. Everything looks as the way I cut it, basically. So just see me kind of shaping at that look, chiseling at the haircut, pushing that hair into the blade sometimes. And still adjusting to the client as well. So this guy here is being a champ. So definitely a harder haircut to sit through for most young people. See some of those hairs I want to get out of there, kind of form that hawk look a little bit, round it in. Thickness out of the top, round that in a little bit more, so you kind of see the technique, the freehand technique, as I use my offhand to kind of push that hair that doesn't want to cut into the blade. So definitely a lot of techniques for you here. Alright, so kind of got the young Patrick Mahomes look. Patrick, I like to call him. shaping the top a little bit more. Kind of like the way the back's looking, so I just kind of want to bring those sides in on the top and shape up that top a little bit more. I'm going to take a little bit off in that front so it just won't hang over and extend over so far. So just kind of shaping that up right in that front region. Alright, looks a lot better right there. Kind of rounds in. Cool. And he had already pretty much grown out his hair quite a bit, so I didn't want to take too much of that hawk off. Dad wanted to kind of leave a little bit of that. Looks just fine to me. Just gotta kind of chisel it up a little bit more, kind of form that look that we're looking for. Then you see the blow dryer just to kind of get a lot of the excess hair out that's already cut, just so we can see what we're really working with. So now Dad stepped in because I'm using the cordless Masters clippers, so he wanted to put some headphones in. These things are pretty much like the lawnmower of the cutting industry right here. So we're gonna use that number 2 guard with the Andes Masters cordless. Very loud clippers, so I had to end up turning the volume down quite a bit. So these are really loud clippers, but guess what? They do a really good job, so that's why I'm using them. Putting on his beats. Alright, now you can hear how loud these clippers are. I mean, these, once again, lawnmowers. What I like to call the lawnmower of the clipper world. But really good clippers, it's really loud. That's what I do appreciate about the Wall Seniors. Now the corded version is quieter, but I've changed so many chords that I just chose not to go that route anymore. So let's turn that down a little bit so you guys can hear me. But I've changed so many chords with the regular Andes Masters that I just wanted to go with the cordless version, so I don't have to have that issue anymore. But in return, I get a louder clipper, so it is what it is. Alright, so just going with the number 1 guard. Just basically covering the same steps that I've gone over, cleaning everything up. Normally, I would be getting close to the end of this haircut right now, but once again, since we started with so much hair, this is a specialty cut. We're going with the design. I knew I didn't have that much time, so later on you'll see my man definitely gets a little bit more irritated, you know, as the cut goes along. So you always want to kind of keep that in mind as a barber or hairstylist, kind of how the youngster's doing. And their attention span isn't or shouldn't be as long as ours that young quite yet. So as I'm using that number 2 just to kind of clean that area up, not looking to go too high like where we use that number 3, but just staying in the same region that I use the 1.5 and the 2. So just trying to take a little bit of those dark spots out of there. I also like to do the same thing on the other side just to kind of ensure that things are that much close to the same as possible. Alright, so we just used the one guard. Want to go a little higher with this 1.5. So I'm starting with that open. So just want to get a little bit more of that weight out of there. I know I already used a 2 and a 3 in that region, so I don't want to go too far to where I've basically used that already, but I want everything to still look right. So I do cut to a look. Alright, so just want to take a little bit of that darkness in that area out to try to match the other side. But it looks like we're basically kind of dialing them in. So now I want to basically start on that lineup. See if we can kind of bring things together a little bit better for him. So here we are, just pulling that hair back. I'll often comb that hair down and then line them up. Here I'm using the Andes Slimline Pro 2. That's not supposed to hurt, but hey, he's making those faces. It's like, don't hurt me, man, don't hurt me. So you gotta be really easy, have a soft touch when you're cutting the kids up, because they almost look for things to kind of hurt based off the sound or irritate them just based off the sound. So kind of have to show them that that's not in fact true. Definitely got to have a really soft hand and soft touch. Kid skin tends to be a little softer, or a lot softer actually, so just want to cut the hair, not the skin. Good job, buddy. And then having your client put their head up so that you can see things clear is definitely a must when cutting hair. So just trying to get in there, create that lineup. Alright, just see if I can get in there for the camera. Just lining everything up. Alright, so I want to get some of these hairs that kind of stick up over the hairline, so I'm doing a freehand technique to kind of free that lineup up so that you'll be able to see it a little better. So any of those hairs that kind of stick out over the hairline, I'm just cleaning those up. So this is the technique that I use in that area. As you can see, it kind of helps that lineup to stick out so you can see the haircut a lot better. This guy's a soldier, doing everything we pretty much ask him to do, so I know these are longer haircuts to sit through, providing how much hair he started with. He's like, woo! This is me? So this is what we're going for, something similar to this. So I'll give Dad his phone back and let's get back to the haircut. So I just want to comb everything down. And I'm also going to grab my Babyliss trimmers to start my design. I like the fact that they have long teeth, kind of get in there. So a really good clipper for that, though they all could probably do the job. Alright, so let's see if we can start getting our first line in there. You want to be really skinny when you do your lineup, meaning not real big spacings, because when I comb down there's going to be hair that falls off, and that line that you see there will actually appear even thicker. So whenever putting these lines in, you want to put really skinny lines in at first, because when that hair goes away like that, you see how much hair falls away, so that line actually got a little thicker. So putting designs in can be really deceptive in that regard. So I like to be real skinny with putting skinny lines in first, and then I can go back and clean things up once I kind of get that hair out of there and see how those lines, how thick those lines really are, if that makes sense. Time for the next line. And when they're moving, then you kind of have to be as quick as possible and as accurate as possible when putting designs in. The haircut has already been going long enough, so you know, kids kind of lose their patience. Obviously can't be here forever cutting them, so always want to have that time kind of factored in. So I grabbed the Slimline Pros because it has a smaller blade, allows me to get that corner a lot better. I don't think I would have been able to create that corner as easy with the last clipper, which had a longer blade. So here it was almost effortless. So just using the corners of the clipper to kind of get in there and create that line. He's like, come on, man. So there's sort of a look at kind of what we have so far. He's like, are we almost done? Gotta love the expressions from the kids. Gotta love the facial expressions. Alright, so just attempting to make that line up a little bit more clean, a lot more fresh. Alright, pretty good angle of everything from there. I'll clean things up a little bit. A lot of times I'll use the underhand angle when lining up instead of the angle that I'm using now on kids. This angle is a lot sharper. The other angle doesn't irritate or cut as much hair. And this guy's getting tired already. A lot of times you can put clients to sleep with just the buzzing of the clippers. So that's another factor is, you know, these clippers, they do buzz, they do vibrate, they do tend to put clients to sleep. So that's a whole nother, we'll probably save that for my next video. I do have a video where my client was literally falling asleep while taping him, and that wasn't in the plans of things. It's just basically how it happened. So I might put that video up next, we'll see. Alright, so things are looking a lot better here. We're kind of getting closer to finally making some leeway and getting this haircut a lot closer to being finished for this young man. He's like, oh, thank you. You said finished? Almost, man, almost. He's like, okay. So this is kind of where we're at. Things are kind of coming together. Just want to kind of ball things out closer at the bottom. Once again, as a seasoned barber, you should be able to fade up, down, pretty much it doesn't matter. Alright, so kind of rounding out this back. They didn't want to go with a pointy back. And a lot of times in this area, it can be really sensitive, so that's why I like to be really cautious and really easygoing in this area, especially on kids. Either they can be ticklish or it can be really sensitive, so you almost have kind of two strikes against you in this area. So you just want to be really careful how you tread with, you know, those blades. Alright, so you pretty much got a good look at how that hock's going with the design. Right, just trying to keep everything as even as possible. There's so many different hocks that you can do. Pointy hocks, faded hocks, hocks with the designs in the back, round. I mean, that's why I like to definitely find out from my client exactly kind of how they want it, what their vision is for the haircut, and try to bring that to life. So I wasn't sure if this is actually hurting or tickling him. End up finding out that it was more ticklish. So see those little hairs, microscopic hairs that fall off. So it's kind of critical that you do clean that area up. So this is the clipper that I like to use for that. He's like, come on, man. Is this me? This is you, buddy. So haircuts can make people look so different in a short amount of time. So he went from one look to this look in pretty much 45 minutes to an hour. A little bit more freehand chiseling at the haircut, kind of making that haircut look the way that we want it to look. Size guard, which I like to call my buffer or blending guard. Once everything's pretty much coming together, this is a really good guard to kind of transition and blend all of the lengths that you use together. So as I go a little higher, I'm going to that number 1 now. Trying to go over that lineup, seeing if I can get that a little sharper. You can tell the haircut's definitely setting in now. This man's like, come on. So this is what we started with, guys. Yeah, that is what we started with. So from the fro to the faux hawk, whoa, exactly, I get it. So quite a big difference, quite a way from when we started. Pops is looking at everything. So there's a little thickness, as you can see. You want to kind of even out that right side a little bit more. The hair's a little longer. So eventually I kind of want to go over everything and get everything dialed in a little bit more. Trying to get a little bit of that weight out to make it match the other side. So that's basically what I'm doing here. Sometimes I'll use a guard, sometimes I won't, such as in this case, just freehand. Since it's able to get a lot more of that hair out and bulky, the hair is so far from the scalp that it doesn't look like I should, you know, bald or create a bald spot anywhere, so I should be okay with the freehand. So as you can see, that backside there, quite a bit of hair. Just kind of wanted to get it to match that left side a little bit. He's like, come on, man. So the barbershop is definitely an experience for the young customers, the young clients. So always takes some getting used to. So here, just using that 1.5 guard, just wanted to get a little bit more of that dark weight out of that area right there. And back with the free hand, just kind of want to ball things in to fade it in. So just creating that transition, really customizing the haircut. He's like, come on, man. If he takes another 10 minutes on my hair. We're almost done, buddy. Alright, so shear time. Time to get that top a little bit dialed in. Everything else is okay. This man's ready to go. So I don't have too much time here, guys. So I kind of have to make haste with this haircut. So using those shears to kind of shape that hair, get a lot of that bulk. Boom, there's that area that I really wanted to get out, so we got a huge chunk of that out at one time. So that's what I do like and appreciate about the shears. Boom, as you can see, things are pretty much looking a little smoother there. This is not supposed to hurt. I'm not sure what the facial expressions were for there, but my man's probably pretty much ready to go. Just gotta get him dialed in there. As you can see, things do look a lot better. Gotta love those facial expressions. Thank you, my man. Alright, cool. So got a little bit more of that bulk out of there, shaping that haircut up a little bit better with those shears. Always different aspects of the system, of the game, and this is one huge aspect. Yeah, man, he's falling asleep, putting him to sleep. I don't know whether from the cut or if it was from the length of the time of the cut or all the above, but definitely gotta make haste to get this little man out of here. Second cuts are a lot faster. We pretty much already have this haircut molded out. We don't have to go through the whole blowout, throw out process. So the next time this young man came, this haircut was a lot fresher and a lot faster, being that we were able to already have some previous history with the cut. There he is, feeling himself. Yep, my man. Young Patrick, my homie right here. So just kind of want to clean things up a little bit more in this area. Doesn't look bad, but I kind of want to take a little weight out there. It looks like he's feeling himself, or he's feeling that we're getting closer to getting his haircut done. Either way, my man has a smile on his face, so that's what I like. Alright, so another quick look at that faux hawk. Alright, this is kind of where we're at now. Let's see if I can get those lines a little cleaner. Definitely getting tiresome now. So anytime you see these type of body languages from your client, you know you don't have too much time to go. So you kind of have to make haste and get that haircut wrapped up. So we are definitely coming to an end of this haircut. Probably only a few more minutes to go here. Alright, cool. So that looks a little cleaner for me, a little bit more dialed in. There it is. Uh-oh. Gotta love it. Alright, just cleaning that line up a little better. If I had a little bit more time, I could make things a lot better, but it is what it is at this point. Hopefully I get a passing grade from you guys out there. We'll see how that goes. Young Patrick Mahomes right here. Young Pat with the look. Patrick. Alright, so there it is, guys. Take a look at that. A little freeze frame for you. A little bit of that hawk. Alright. Then we're just gonna clean up the neck area. So all these little hairs you see there, just gonna get that nice and clean so that won't take away from the look. Alright, another quick freeze frame for you. Alright, so I like to add a little bit of shine, so I'm gonna just add in a little bit of hair sheen, bring a little bit of shine to that hair, add that luster. There you see it there, boom. Now that boy is shining, boy. You shining like a star, boy. Boy is shining like a star. Alright, so there it is. A little food for the hair, and a little bit of shine for the grind. Alright guys, so this is before the cut. This is after the cut. I like to brush everything down. Good job today, champ. Alright, so as always, a little bit of artwork for you guys. Dad and brother, we're here with him getting his hair cut with this young man, helping both of us through this process, so I appreciate you guys. As you see brother stepping in, helping getting these headphones out. And then a little bit of artwork of that hawk with my guy here. There it is. Boom, looking fresh. I like it. That's what we started with. Look at that smile. Amazing. Until next time, take care.